time to get your quick fix with the remix. I'm Remixes, and I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. After playing the game for about 10 hours, I've been able to see what I really like about this game, and what made me leave the series in the first place. Now, you might be thinking 10 hours isn't enough to assess the game, but I have gotten to try all the game modes at least once, and this is not my first Battlefield. For the record, I love Portal. Making this game feel like a previous title is the best thing about 2042, which honestly speaks to the quality of the new additions. So, multiple elephants in the room. Yes, the bugs, yes, the specialist system, yes, the lag, the balance, blah blah, I understand all that. Let's have a little bit more in-depth discussion. Those are important, but they don't really get to the core of what's wrong with this game. I'll talk about the specialist system later, but more on how they should have worked in the game. Now, my history with this game goes back to Battlefield 3. I loved that game. I started on Xbox logging over 500 hours. After building my first modern PC, I logged another 200 hours in the game. Then I had a very short run with Battlefield Bad Company 2 in order to try it out before logging another 150 hours in Battlefield 4. After that, I ended up jumping ship over to PlanetSide 2 where I logged over 1,000 hours. I'm an average skill player and not very good at these types of games, and hover around a 0.8 to 1.1 KD depending on how invested I can be in these games. I've been gaming since 1993, so it's not like I'm new to gaming. Why did I bring up PlanetSide though, my 1,000 hours in PlanetSide? Well, the Battlefield series has always had the same problem game after game. You immerse yourself in a large 32, then 64, and now 128 player battles. Do what you want, massive open world, only in Battlefield. Except, it's not. For this video, I'm going to use a couple games to help demonstrate what core features have been botched. We'll look at Firefall, PlanetSide, previous Battlefields, and perhaps a few others. This video will be a little bit longer, as you can see from the timer down at the bottom of your screen, but I hope it'll provide you with a little bit more nuance and different discussion about what's wrong with this game. So let's get into it. What is the core of the problem? I think it can be summed down to a lack of leadership. So for those of you who haven't actually played Battlefield 2042, this game is rather large. I think about the runtime when comparing the size of one size of the map, which is about 7 to 8 minutes. It's quite the long haul. Vehicles become essential for getting around the map because redeploy is suicide and not what it claims to be. Redeploy. Yeah, go ahead and use those cooldowns when possible. But with a massive map, did it ever dawn on anyone to add platoon leaders? I mean, we had the commander, which kind of worked back in 2142 and Battlefield 4, but with 32 squads in the game, they have no sense of direction. Sometimes squads will point to which objective you should go to, but there's no redeploy from the current location, so find your own way to get to the objective. There's no in-game comms to communicate with my squad mates, so it's pretty impossible. In order for me to communicate what I need, let me stop what I'm doing in the middle of a firefight and text that I need ammo or there's somebody behind you, and then send that and hope the person actually reads it. It would be way nicer if I could use push-to-talk to simply press a button and say what I need. Now, I understand that not everybody speaks the same language as I do, so having a comm rose would be really beneficial if it actually worked. The comm rose takes up a ton of space and becomes rather obtrusive when I'm trying to figure out what I need to be doing at the same time as using those commands. This game has introduced some of the absolute worst squad cohesion of any of the recent games. Has it been this way with Hardline 1 and 5? The developers have basically said, yeah, let's put 128 players in a large mapped team deathmatch. There's no reason to PTFO. There's no reason to play as a squad. There's no overarching reason to play this game. You just win and get more points. When you don't build strong support systems, they quickly alienate players. New players have a massive skill or learning gap to overcome, with players who will shit on them constantly. You don't know where the good fights are. Instead, Battlefield has to hold your hand to say, you can't spawn on someone because they're in combat. People don't really have clear goals to work towards because unless you zerg somewhere, there's no cohesion. If you don't put the leadership mechanics in your game, you make people rely on third-party apps to do your job, like Discord or TeamSpeak. This makes it harder to form communities and to meet new players. And to anyone who thinks, well, the maps are really large, so people spread out to go wherever, that's not always the case. I've had multiple times where a bunch of enemies gather up on a single point, or nobody gathers up on a point and I'm able to cap objectives alone. So what should the leadership look like? Well, a great example is PlanetSide. They have a leadership hierarchy set up. You have squads consisting of 12 players, and they can be broken down into fire teams. Those fire teams can be some or all of an entire squad. The squad leads get to choose how they want their fire teams to be broken up. Moving up, we have platoons. Platoons have 2 to 4 squads for a total of 48 members playing together. This forms the core of how people move around the map, as a squad or in a platoon. Zerging does become a problem, but squads can go around the platoon by attacking another objective. Platoons can't usually move as quickly as a squad can. Now, as a squad lead, you gain access to a voice and text chat that allows other squad leads from your faction to communicate. This is known as command or command chat. Command is interesting as it allows like-minded people to coordinate their attacks and request help. And if a squad lead doesn't want to do what command requests, the other squad leads, they don't have to, but it still enables squads to communicate individual goals. One important note is anyone can squad lead, so requests to attack a base might not be the best plan. Sometimes it's important to ignore or mute command chat when you have someone who thinks they know what's best for the faction. Finally, we have outfits. Outfit is basically a guild. Like-minded people come together and enjoy playing with each other. All of this is on an even larger world than any one of Battlefield's maps. I think walking across the continent takes 15 minutes or something around that time frame. All of these leadership levels have access to both a text and a voice chat. Need to talk to your squad? There's a chat for that. Need to communicate with the platoon or the faction? Same. There's even a proximity voice and chat so that you can communicate with the person right next to you, even if they're not in your outfit or your squad. And finally, regarding the different chats, there's a command so you can mute one player who won't stop playing copyright music affecting your recordings, or the squeaker who won't stop complaining about how bad the lag is when they just got headshot from 300 meters away. This lack of leadership and teamwork has been a fundamental problem of the series from the start, which led me to eventually leave the Battlefield series. It's cool to go on a kill streak, but did your defense make it so you held the line? How many point defense holds came down to the last second? Have you ever had a base steal from a third faction with 10 seconds left on the timer? These only in Battlefield moments actually come from PlanetSide. I can go on large killing sprees and do well for myself, like 4 to 8 kills, but it doesn't really mean anything unless I'm playing as a team member to get the objective. And to some players, that's fine. Killing is everything. But now, 2042 has decided that kills will reward you with very little points, or you can't even see how many times you've died. Generally, I like to keep politics out of gaming, but what the fuck is with this politically correct woke shit of not being able to compare my score to someone else's? Yeah, I suck. I need to know how bad I suck compared to everybody else. I like seeing revives and assists too. Perhaps even bases defended or captured. But not everyone needs a damn medal. Showing how I contributed is fine. Not showing how I negatively impact is not. I might be the sole reason our team lost because I decided to go 1 for 40 because I was screwing around with a tuk-tuk vehicle. So that's the core of what's wrong. Let's talk about the things more people are complaining about. The loss of the class system. I understand that people may want to run a bolter on a heavy or an assault rifle on a tank or engineer. The guns moving between classes isn't the biggest issue. The loss of individual roles in the game is a massive failure. It ends up hurting the player because they don't know what their roles are and they're not able to support the team in a way that makes sense. One YouTuber that I watched said it in a pretty good way. If you're going to do away with the classes, then you need to make every player take a lethal and a non-lethal item. However, I'd go a step further and say take a lethal and a support item. You can take a rocket launcher, but you need to take an ammo or a health crate. Or you can take a repair tool, but maybe grab that armor bag or a spotting ball. This one approach I don't really mind, however, I would like to propose a different. Take the specialists that you have and give them a role. For instance, you're a medic, but your medic revives with 100% and grants a slight buff for the player's speed. You are an engineer, but gain a passive 10% vehicle repair rate. You're a recon, but are able to EMP grenade a vehicle. The classes provide a role that you need to fit, and brings back the fundamental rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Get rid of anyone being able to revive. It's pretty BS. Yes, in the real world, we have access to CPR and first aid and AED machines in a modern world. However, it ruins the role of the medic. Why be a medic when I can revive as the recon? Battlefield has undergone a bunch of role changes over the years. But for simplicity, I'm going to go with the 4 basic: medic, assault, engineer, and recon. Yes, I know the assault is actually the support class, whatever, it doesn't matter. The roles have changed over the years, so I'm trying to define what the standard basically is. PlanetSide followed along in these footsteps and did combat medic, engineer, infiltrator, light assault, and heavy assault, and I'm not going to talk about the maxes. The combat medic can have emphasis more on combat or more on the medic, depending on how the class is spec'd. The light assault has a jetpack to get on top of bases. Heavy assault brings the rocket launcher and the LMG. Engineer is your jack of all trades, supplying ammo, laying down tank mines, setting up turrets or walls. Each class is good at something and not great at everything. For instance, my combat medic might be really good by bringing C4 into the picture to blow up vehicles, or I can be more defensively stacked in order to keep my fellow teammates up and in the fight. Another game I looked to that mirrors both of these classes really well was Firefall. Firefall was in beta in 2014 and never really got to see the full light of day. They had your basic classes of medic, NG, recon, heavy, and assault, but each could have a subclass allowing new abilities while weakening some strengths. For instance, the engineer would have access to a supply station for health and ammo, as well as an anti-personnel turret. But his subclass, the Electron, was an engineer with emphasis on dealing damage, while the Bastion, another subclass, added emphasis on defensive holds by setting up multiple turrets. Firefall's Biotech was a combat medic, which could have a subclass of the Dragonfly to better revive, or the Recluse, which used poisons and toxins to hurt the enemy. Each of these classes and subclasses were unique enough to add replayability to each of the classes. They fit within a role and didn't stray too far outside of that role. And from a financial standpoint, they are far more marketable than Battlefield Specialists. So from a greedy executive standpoint, you could sell each of the specialists to give an addition to the game. They don't make the game overpowered, as the base class is well rounded for its role. Far less greedy, however, is selling cosmetics. Yeah, I want to have that smiling face keychain hanging from my gun, or I want to buy that cool looking player card that has a bunch of tea bags. Perhaps I want the gold border around my title or black and purple camo. Some players want cat ears and pink camos, while others want all black, and others want a ghillie suit. I understand the need or want to monetize, but your initial upfront cost of the game could pay for the development up to its release. Your cosmetic monetization is to help keep the lights on and add further profit. The important thing though is not splitting your player base, something EA is very good at doing by making paid DLC, access to maps that some people can't play. My final problems are smaller, but still demonstrate the lack of quality this game shows. First, the base guns. The iron sights on the M6A3 are trash, yet I still have to try and score 10 kills before I can get a decent sight. I thought I had lost most of my skill with Battlefield, but no, it was just a trash sight. I was able to prove that when I went to a different sight for the same gun in Portal mode. This automatically creates a skill gap in the beginning that new players have to try and overcome. The next problem, what is our overall objective? Why do I care about winning a fight? Why should I care about PTFOing? There's a story here, and it seems interesting, but I feel like we're stuck in the beginning of Act 2 of a movie. I read everything on the website, watched the videos, watched the intro, and still don't care about a single one of the heroes. And that leads to the third thing. These heroes have no roles and give me no backstory to care about. Aside from, they talk shit like a teenager at the end of each match.
I told you to keep up. A good day's work, but I'm not one to brag.
Come on, this is too easy.
Might as well call them generic hero 1 through 8. All of this matters because you need Battlefield to differentiate itself from other games. Battlefield is in its own genre, so stop trying to copy Call of Duty. Stop trying to copy Apex. Stop trying to be these other games that you are clearly not cut out to be, and instead, be the best Battlefield that you possibly can be. Introduce the team play. Introduce the squad mechanics. Focus on those things in order to keep your core still playing the game for as long as they possibly can. Anyways, this video has gone on long enough. I hope I've provided at least one different perspective for you. If you liked the video, let me know down in the comments, and as always, keep it real and keep it on remix.